social security, a social assistance, but under the social security. So that concern that you raised, that what about those people that earn 20,000, 50,000? How are we going to take care of that? That is where our taxes, that's where the private individual organization need to come. So what I want to say in nutshell is we should have a mechanism in place, because the government has so many fire to quench. Every day there's always one thing to do. And the more you quench this one, another one comes in. But what I want us to see from social security is we should have a social security policies whereby private individual can come and be part of it. Because there are some people who are really willing to be part of this.
All right. Shola Izora. Now, yes, social security is a mechanism put in place, as both of you have defined, to make a living worthwhile. Let me take Mr. Benitez's contribution. That sense of belonging, it helps you feel like you're part of something, part of a nation, or part of something that matters. But there are institutions that have been put in place. There's the NSITF. There's also the SIP office, which is manned by Miriam Owais. They're doing the trader money and all of those things right now. But how effective would you say? So in a nutshell, you could say there's a social security policy if you're looking at these institutions that have been set up and all. But how effective would you say these institutions or this policy has been?
Thank you very much. To measure effectiveness or efficiency, let's just come down to the basis and ask the common Nigerian on the street. Does any Nigerian on the street even know some of these provisions that have been made for them? Whether while you are in employment, when you eventually retire, this is what you are entitled to and what you should get. That's number one. Number two, does that worker have the ability to even say, this is the process by which I can assess this provision of government for me when it comes to Social Security? These are some of the challenges that we have. And I may want to digress a little bit to look at an aspect that I feel is in a common fabric for all of us, the humanness in each and every one of us. When those that are in authority or those that are in charge of discharging these responsibilities do not empathize with the people that they need to take care of, there is a problem. There is a problem. Because if you will allow some of all the factors today that divide us as a nation, factors like a religion, like a tribe, and several other things to come into play, which, if we will be sincere with ourselves, we have seen how some of all these factors have made some of the initiatives by government to be either not working or thereabout. You realize that someone that is maybe in charge of the pension scheme wants to attend to someone from his tribe or someone from his area or someone that is of the same religion with him or her. We need to step up from this type of mindset. So there is a need for those that are in charge to first and foremost exhibit that empathy, exhibit that humanness, and be willing to attend to the least of the society so that someone that is being told of this is the provision of government for you can assess that provision of government. That's one. Two, measures are already in place for dealing with those that may err. You were talking earlier about embezzlement, about corruption, and I love, like you said, Benitez's contribution when he mentioned the fact that because sometimes people do not get punished, so there is impunity. The common Nigeria on the street may not feel the impact of Social Security because of some of these vices. We have to confront them and then move on from there.
Staying with you, you're a public health consultant. Would you then say that the National Health Insurance Scheme is part of a social security mechanism? And would you say that has been working since inception?
Good question. I wouldn't say it has been effective. I will not say it has been effective. Let me give you an example. In my former place of employment, a colleague of mine had to assess his health insurance scheme because he needed some attention at one of the hospitals. And he was told that there are certain drugs that are under the insurance scheme and some other drugs that he may need to pay for because those are not covered by his insurance scheme. So you ask yourself, why did dichotomy? Why did dichotomy? So I'm not sure it has been as effective as it should be. You will be surprised that not many people are even aware. The awareness has not been created such that people will know there is something called the National Health Scheme or National Health Insurance Scheme. A lot of people are not aware. A lot of people do not know what it stands for. A lot of people do not know what they stand to benefit if they make their contributory portion, whether while working in their respective public or private enterprises, and then what they can gain, what it will cover. Some of all this information seems not there. So those that are saddled with those responsibilities seem not to be doing as much as you would have expected to bring education to people about some of all these interventions.
Okay. Actually, Benito, let me just ask this question before it escapes me. There's a mail here from Kikelomo Afolabi. He says, what's the social security for old peasant farmers, petty traders, etc., people that were not employed by government and don't have pension? Now, before you answer that question, look at it this other angle. There are some countries, in Africa, for instance, where there's a pricing cap so that the man on the street is able to get value for his money. That can also be said to be some sort of social security. But that doesn't seem to exist in the country. Is there a way to make things easier for the peasant farmers, those that were not employed in any way?
Well, it's a tough ask because you want to get into an organized system, you need yourself to also be organized. You know, because institutions here have found it difficult to operate, because of that lack of humanness that Shola spoke about, the care for the next person, the National Orientation Agency, which is supposed to have driven this information across to everybody, is not on top of their job. So the peasant farmer that you've spoken about is completely unaware that it's available to him. But for it to be available to you, you are already a contributor to the scheme in one way or the other. Financial contribution.
But when you're talking about social security, I mean, the person doesn't necessarily have to be a financial contributor. If you're talking about social security in the US, for instance, it cuts across everybody.
True, right? Yeah. True. Now, there's a cap for, there's access for everybody, but to a limit. Now, the peasant farmer needs Medicare. Is there a health care center available in his, because that is social security. Is there a health care center? When I was growing up as a child, there were health care centers, scattered practically everywhere. But now they just disappeared. So you see, access to social security are in the establishment of these facilities that address the daily needs. They're not necessarily tied to access to being able to buy food or any of all those things. But I need to be able to take paracetamol. I can walk into a healthcare center and get, free healthcare. When you go to a healthcare center, your treatment actually is supposed to be free. But the healthcare centers are not there any longer. So the peasant farmer, his access to these facilities is now again predicated on source, which is Abuja. Unfortunately, local governments are dead. Let's just admit that reality, because they've been stifled, they've been choked to death, so they just function at the whims
of the
governor.
And the governor, it's a tragic situation we find ourselves in, because I keep telling people it is not a position of authority. It's a position of responsibility. When you realize that it's a position of responsibility, you will not throw a party when you are given an appointment. You are thinking to yourself, how am I going to be able to meet the expectations of my people? And Social Security is the primary responsibility of somebody who occupies a position of responsibility.
Okay. Now, Ovie, just before he swings to Shola, is the peasant farmer aware?
He's
is
not.
The trader aware that this thing exists so that they can plug into it?
They are not aware. Now, the petty trader takes the child to school, and the petty trader is told, this week you bring 2 rolls of toilet paper, 2 tablets of washing soap, bathing soap. They are not part of the school fees, but it is the obligation that is being laid upon the petty trader. The petty trader complies because he or she is unaware of her rights. So, an absence of the knowledge of your rights denies you completely of access to Social Security.
Okay. I want to just say something because of time.
Yes.
I know because of our time.
Yes.
Well, all these that we've discussed today on Social Security, we can fix it.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not a... I don't want us to have it at the back of our mind that we can't fix it. And that's where I'm coming from. We can fix it. We can fix Nigeria. So I'm coming from the point, what are the things, the way forward? All those things we mentioned are past one. I would say it is high time now we talk about technology, bringing technology to integrate. Because even in my own village, people still have phone that has Android. They can snap picture and do all that. So we need to talk about that too. You mentioned about the farmer, that's what they call farmer cooperative society, whereby they contribute a certain amount of money into the purse. And that purse is what they are using to take care of their children, to go to hospital and all that. That is also in place. So we can reinforce that. The other one is data gathering. We have, if banks can do the BVM very well, we can also use the same platform to do this Social Security. Then the last but very important is advocacy. And that advocacy, we can talk about awareness. We need to create that awareness. That's what I have to say.
And that's where we have to anchor it for today. I'd like to thank the 2 Sholas. Shola Aino,
Thank you so much.
social entrepreneur who was with us in our studio in Lagos, and Shola Izora, a public health consultant and life coach who joined us from our studio in Abuja, as well as architect Ovie Benitier. Thank you very much for coming to look at this important subject with us this morning.
Before we go, I was going to read this. Joseph says, it's a big issue. The only agency with a relatively sustainable Social Security funding apparatus is the NSITF, which is funded by contributions from private and public sector. Acho Omodu says, Social Security is important in every nation. Every responsible government must design a home-tailored Social Security program that is consistent with available resources. We'll be back shortly. Don't go away.